witches and Halloween and curses and oh my goodness. You say, I don't want to hear anything about that. Well, you got to, because there's some good stuff that you need to know and some stuff you may have never heard. Stay tuned. We're going to talk about it today. Be right back.
On this rock, I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. Abundant Life Cathedral Church, the church of tomorrow today. A ministry that is building the people that shape the world.
Welcome to Dr. Ed's Sensational Sundays. Yes. A couple of Sundays ago, Pastor talked about being a Trekkie. Now, I confess, I am too. But those of us who are Trekkies, we like the future forward thinking of what being a Trekkie is all about. Those of you who are Star Wars fans, I know you know the same thing. But here's the thing that I love about being a Trekkie. There's always adventure in every episode. Can you look at your life and start thinking about the adventure of every episode with your walk in God? I think it would change the way you see everything if you look at it as an adventure rather than something, oh, here we go again. Here we got to wake up. We got to do this. No, look at life and life in Christ as an adventure that's waiting to unfold as soon as you say yes. I love that. And here's Dr. Ed.
Thank you, Yolanda, the fabulous Yolanda Adams. Oh, yeah, I didn't know she was a Star Trek fan. She didn't tell me that. I didn't know it. She knew the lingo, though. Yeah, she did know that. You know, I'm so glad you tuned in today because we're going to talk about something since we're so near to this holiday they call Halloween. Yep, I was on the front page of what used to be the Houston Post, which was the second newspaper in Houston at one time, a long time ago, and I was supposed to be a crusader against Halloween. Well, we're going to talk about something today, so you know that theme song, don't you? I know you do. That's why I played it. Because we're in this space today to talk about don't witch, switch. Now, that's something that we're going to have fun with. Make sure you hit that share button, share it with your friend, because this is something your friend is going to want to hear. If you're in comments, listen, let us know that you're in the place. If you're not in Houston, let me know what city you're in. If you're not in Texas, let me know your state. If you're not in the country, let me know what country you're watching this from. This is about words. This is about power. This is about changing everything about your life and what you can possibly do. This is a new series, and the series is called Create Your Own World and Just Live in It. I'm going to say it again. Create your own world and just live in it. I have been talking about that for years because I firmly believe that the world that we live in, we create it. So as you're coming in, thank you for allowing us to come in to your space. ALC, Abundant Life Center, that's the church I get the opportunity to be the pastor of, to be able to teach, and we're going to be in that space physically soon. But I've been doing this for over 45 years, so I get the opportunity of knowing some of the things that are ahead of us, but yet close enough with you to hold your hand and help you walk through some of the things that we're dealing with. And believe me, in this world, the stuff we're dealing with now, oh my God, that's what we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about curses. We're going to talk about enchantments, divinations. We're going to talk about some of the things that you call dark things. but I'm also talk about blessing. I'm also talk about what this God we believe in has done to be able to help us to live the kind of life we want. So stay tuned. Don't you go anywhere. There's a reason I started off with a theme song from Bewitched. And any of you that heard that theme song, many of you that's been here for any length of time, know what it is. If you're younger, you may not know what it was because that show at first was in black and white. But of course, TV Land reruns, many of you, no matter what your age, would know what it was. The head, or should I say the lead role, belonged to a witch by the name of Samantha. Samantha was a good witch. And of course, she didn't do any spooky, all that kind of stuff. She just, she twinkled her nose. And that's how she was able to make these crazy things happen. And we sat and we laughed because Samantha was a good witch. But we were also introduced in other stories, The Wizard of Oz, The Wiz, to the bad witch. This was the witch that, that frightened little children with the black cats and all the bubble, toil and trouble. And this is the kind of witch that, how most people connect witches and spells and things of that sort. Then, of course, like we said, just like Samantha, there was another good witch. I don't know if it was Glenda they're showing, but there was another good witch, a beautiful witch. And so we all grew up, whether it's television, movies, we all grew up with this dichotomy of what witchcraft is, what witches are, good or bad, happy, sad, someone wants to eat you up, or someone that wants to help you out. So our generation is a little bit different, and how we see things is a lot different than they saw things a long time ago. I mean, one of my favorite series that I watch, and don't you tell anybody, but every now and then I watch Charmed. I kind of, and some of you like it, some of you say, I don't go in for that, Pastor. I understand. But sometimes I just separate from reality, and I want to see somebody throw a fireball at a demon. But so you understand what I'm talking about and the generation growing up in. Well, the world that we live in, I firmly believe that with the right kind of words, we can actually create the world we want to live in. I didn't say that happens overnight or at the snap of a finger or the twitch of a nose. But when we think of words, we think of just something we normally say. But words are powerful things. Words can enable us to travel throughout our lives, living the kind of lives we want. Like I said, it doesn't mean that everything in life is perfect. But what it does mean is that we can have some kind of control, if that's what you want to talk about, control, or some kind of input in our life that we can at least enjoy our life to a certain extent. Words can enable you to do that. My grandmother used to say, watch your words and be careful what you say, especially, she said, did you touch that thing on my nightstand? And I know I touched it. And I look up and I kind of look at what that looked like. I would be saying, no, she doesn't. And she said, now, don't you tell me no lie. Because a liar will not be believed, even when they speak the truth. And so, I touched it. But I've learned also, in the world that we live in right now, my grandmother would find it and she would probably look up and say, if she was here on this planet Earth right now, that a liar will be believed, even if he speaks a lie. We're learning that now. And how people can be so mixed up and so deceived about so many different things. Well, today I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to begin the series with a story. And it's the story about a group of people. They were in slavery, and they had been in slavery for a number of years, and they were coming out of slavery. As a matter of fact, they had just got out of slavery, but everywhere they went, or nobody wanted to be a part of them. They didn't want them to integrate. They segregated them. They didn't want their children to go to school with their children. People of other cultures, of other races, did not want the children to go to school together. They did not want them to be a part of their lives. Oh, you think I'm talking about black people, America, black, white? No. That's not what I'm talking about. And you say, oh, this must be a message about racism. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something close to 3,000 years ago. Yeah. 3,000 years ago. And it is a story so powerful that there's no way in the world I can do this in one session. So don't go anywhere. Stay right where you are. As a matter of fact, tell some of your friends, tune in right now and hit that share button with your friends, because this is something they're going to want to hear. Because if you're listening to me, I promise you, every single one of us, here is what we want. We want to feel good about our lives. We want to be happy in the spaces where we live. We want to be able to do things that we can dream, that we can think about. When we daydream and say, I wish I could do this, we would love to be able to, after that, start putting things in place that we could actually achieve what we dream about and think about. We want our families to be healthy. We want our children to be able to go to schools and be equal and powerful and get along with the other kids that are in the school. We don't want to hear about no fights and all this other kind of stuff going on. We want to live the best level of our lives. And let me tell you something. There is nothing wrong with that. How many of you that's watching me right now, and this is important because it's about words, how many of you right now want to live the best level of your life? I know some may be typing, I do. I want to live the best level of my life. Or I want to live everything that God wants for me and that I want for myself. This is so important, because until you can deal with that, you're not going to know what's happening around you. Now, this is why I brought out this particular passage of scripture. Is Numbers chapter 22, and you'll see they'll probably put it on the screen. Numbers chapter 22-24. If it's not up there now, it'll be there later. I'm not putting the scriptures in here, and the reason I'm not is because this whole entire story has to be one, two, at least 3 chapters long, and we don't have the time. If I was in service, this would be a series. I would be up talking about a specific thing, and I would stop at a certain point, because it's different. I could put things up on the screen and show you things that that would help you to understand it, but we don't. This is the internet. We're watching on all these different mediums. So I've just got to take Numbers chapter 22-24. You got to take it, look it up, and read it for yourself. I promise you, it's not boring reading. But you got to realize, those people did not think about life the way we thought about life. Here's what was going on. When you live about 3,000 years ago, you don't think about CDs, downloads. You know what I'm talking about. You're not thinking about rights. I hear people talk about, when I do my radio shows, and they talk about There were black people back in the Bible. Well, back then, they didn't think of themselves as black people in the Bible, or I'm black and I'm fighting for my rights, and look at me, I'm black and I'm making a contribution to history. They didn't think of themselves like that. They just thought of themselves as people. We live in America. Race is a social construct to us. Race is one of the most unusual contraptions that was ever created right here in America. This whole hierarchy and I shouldn't lowarchy or whatever it is. I don't think that's a word. But all that's different. They didn't think that way. They were just people. But yet they had people who felt they were better than other people and didn't want certain people around them. And so these people, they believed differently. They thought differently. In other words, where in our generation we talk about God and we say, I believe in God. Do you believe in God? And people say, yeah, I believe in God. We sit around and talk. I don't believe in God. I'm an atheist. I'm an agnostic. Well, this is our generation. Back then, nobody talked about, do you believe in God or do you not believe in God? Everybody believed in God. Everybody had a God they believed in. If you didn't believe in this God, then you believed in another God. If you didn't have one little God carved out of wood, you had another God carved out of ivory or gold or whatever it was. But everybody believed in a God. And everybody had a name for a God. That's what all of this was about. And if you talk to somebody, the question they would ask is, all I want to do is have a happy life. All I want is rain to come down on my crops to grow so I can feed my family and sell some of the crops on a good season, sell some of these crops so we have enough money to get through the winter and be able to plant again in the spring. Not have any drought or locusts or pestilence or plagues or viruses or corona or what. That's what we want. That's what we got a God for that can help us. Now I want to know, do your God do that? Do your God help in that area? And the other person, yeah, my God helps in that area. Well, that's how they believed. That's how they picked their gods. Their gods were chosen based on what can you do for me? You say, well, that's a very narrow way of thinking. We think about that. Well, no, we think like that now. Look at it this way. Where is my phone? Oh, there it is. You got your cell phone. Now, you take away AT&T or Verizon. All you got is a cell phone. It may be smart, a smartphone, but it's not going to be that smart because it's not connected to the power. You connected to AT&T, the other one connected to Verizon. And so it's like you sitting around and say, hey, your phone got good range. You got a lot of bars. Who you with? I'm with Verizon. No, I switch from them because they don't give me the service that I need. Oh, really? Maybe I need to switch. That's what it was. Maybe I need to switch. That's why I gave the title. Don't witch, just switch. In other words, maybe we need to switch gods. That's how they thought. Just like we think maybe we need to switch carriers. Not give it a second thought. They said maybe I need to switch God. Who's going to help me switch gods? See, they believed in a lot of them. As a matter of fact, even God understood they believed in a lot of them. He never came around and said, forget all the rest. There ain't no such thing as him. He said, no. He said, I'm the Lord thy God. He says, I'm a jealous God. In other words, put me first. He never told them, to throw them all away. He just said, put me first. He understood how they thought. That's the same way with the phone companies. They don't tell you that AT&T don't tell you Verizon don't exist. It just says, we just better. We'll give you a better reception. We'll give you a better. See, you see where I'm going. This is what they thought. This is how they thought. Now, as they came out of slavery, they had to start fending for themselves and doing things for themselves. And so every time they met some other people on the road, they would say, hey, we want to go across your yard. We promise not to touch your crops, that your God has helped you with, or to eat from your fruit trees, or to drink from your wells. We just want to cut across your backyard. We promise to stay on that little path over there. Folks would say, get out of my yard. Get off my grass. Stay off my grass. And so they'd have to go all the way around. Then they run into another group of people. And they say, listen, we won't touch any of your fruit trees or any of your grain or whatever. Get off my grain. Get out of here. We don't want you people over here. Just go. We just want to walk through around your backyard, through the alleyway. Get out of here. And so they would, okay. And so this went on and on and on. Till finally they ran into a group of people, and these group of people say, get out of here. We don't even come near us. And this is Israel. They said, well, we just want to cut through your backyard, but I tell you what, we won't touch anything. We won't drink any of your water or anything. They say, no, we don't want you walking through here. And so finally this guy Moses, who was the head of these people, said, if anybody drinks a glass of your water or a cup of your water, we'll pay for it. We will buy anything that our people touch. And the other folk got mad. And they ran down with their sticks and their clubs and their bats and their knives and start beating on the children of Israel. And so the men said, well, we ain't going to just let you beat on us. So they began to fight. And they won. They beat them. Well, after they beat the men shouldn't have came out to town to whoop on them. Moses was just going to keep right on walking. So then they figured, well, we done already took over. The rest of the people in the town, the kids and the women, say, hey, we ain't got nobody else here. There's some empty houses over there. Y'all might as well take it over. And so that's what they did. They took it over. And it was right there next to this place called Canaan. Well, right across the valley over the river over there was another group of people called Moab, or the Moabites. And the Moabites were nervous as cats. And let me see, look at that time. Okay. Oh yeah, I'm doing good. The Moabites says, we don't want these people there. There's too many of them. As a matter of fact, if we let them stay, they're going to try to go to school with our children. You read it. They will interconnect with our people. They will take our crops. They will take our jobs. We need to get them out. There will be more of them in our country than it is of us. We need to get them out of here. So the king, his name was Balak, said, now how can I get these folk out? And it came across his mind. They said there was this guy that was just like them. As a matter of fact, part of them. His name was Balaam. And Balaam had a special talent. Okay? And the special talent that Balaam had is he could bless and curse. He talked to this God or this spirit that the Moabites didn't know about. And he was so powerfully connected, he could bless and he could curse. Now, check this out. What they didn't know about Balaam is that Balaam was a prophet. Now, isn't this interesting? Hear me now. If the Moabites or that group of folk didn't want the children of Israel over there, you would say, let's get us up a group of people with some sticks and let's go beat the heck out of them. Or let's go scare them. Or let's go connect with some of the other people that didn't want them. Check with the other kings around the community and around the land that didn't want these people. Let's us band together and form a great big army and go whoop them and make them get off our land and get out of here. That's not what they asked for. The king of Moab says, we cannot beat them. They are too big. They too huge. Their numbers are strong. Instead of calling for an army, they call for a prophet. Why in the world would they call for a preacher? Why do you need a prophet here? And what they found out is that this preacher, this prophet, could create a spell to either bless or curse. Now listen to me. In other words, you will see words within these chapters 22, 23, 24. Words like bless and curse, enchantments and divinations. As a matter of fact, this prophet made his living from the going rate of divination. Divination was the fee that was paid to people who could figure out how to connect with this force of the universe that people we call God. They knew it as something, they just knew it was a force of the universe. The king of Moab could not understand. They had a God, but their God wasn't strong as Balaam's God. But Balaam's God was the same God of the children of Israel, but Moab's king didn't know that. And Balaam wasn't about to tell Balak, the king, what his source was, because then he wouldn't get his money. So the king says, here's what we need to do. We need to curse these people. What? I want you to go find Balaam because I can't whoop him physically. Before we go up against them as an army, the first thing we need to do is curse these people. Why would you do that? We need to put a spell on these people. We need to speak some words over these people. Because if we can do that, then we can whoop them. If we could get into their head, then we can bring them down low enough to whoop them even though we are a minority. Huh? Oh, you need to click somebody. You need to share this, comment, like this. And I'll be right back. I'm going to this break. Watch this because we coming back and it's going to be fierce. Hello, I'm Ed Montgomery, and I want to encourage you about one thing. Don't you let your season pass you by. I've been talking on these little bitty clips about flowers and opening and blooming, but it takes pollination. In other words, it takes somebody going from one flower to another flower, and that's somebody, little bees and things of that sort. But just like bees will go from one flower to another flower and cause pollination and cause those flowers to reproduce, I think we touch each other's lives the same way. When we smile at each other, we reproduce joy and happiness. Our world needs so much. This is what ALC does. And when you give, you make a huge difference in our world. Take the time, go to myalc.org. That's myalc.org. Hit the donate button. You can give that way. A second way to give is to be able to use your text to give on your phone. And you can send it to the number 713-742-2035. That's 713-742-2035. and put however much the amount you want to give right in that text message part of it and send it safe and secure. Not only that, but you can use your app. Don't forget, if you're in the app right now, you can give through it right now. And then also, you can use your P.O. box. Just slip a check. People do still do checks nowadays. Or you can give through your debit cards or credit cards if you got an envelope. But if you're just mailing it, put a stamp on that envelope and you can send it to Abundant Life Center, P.O. Box 772-300, Houston, Texas 77215. Thank you so much for everything you do, for your contributions. I really appreciate you. Thank you, ALC, Abundant Life Center. And for all of you, ALC globally, thank you for being a part of our lives. I hope we can continue to be a part of your life. Love you. See ya. You like this? If you are, hit that like button. Like it. Hit it. So we can, if you're liking this so far. Okay. What we're talking about is words can speak blessing, and it can create curses. Words. Jesus says something about words. He says, my words are spirit and they are life. My words are intangible and they are living. Whatever is living, it's intangible. Just like if words are intangible, then what we speak is intangible. But if the person that we're speaking hears and takes it in Romans chapter 10, it talks about hearing preaching. What hearing preaching is about taking in taking in truths that reverberate like reverb or bounce back off the walls of our souls. And it bounces back and forth until we are able to take it in, to dismantle it, and it becomes a type of truth to us. Because that's what we're looking for, is truth. Oh, don't get it. And see, when we talk about truth, everybody's looking for that one truth. There can only be one truth. Jesus says, you shall know the truth. Actually, it says, you shall know truth, and the truth will make you free. You shall know the truth or one truth. You shall know truth, and the truth shall make you free. Jesus says, when he says, I am the way, the truth, and the life, we quote it all the time. Look at it. You'll see the word the is in italics. He doesn't say it. He says, I am way, I am truth, and I am life. There can be several truths about one thing. And this is what that prophet Balaam understood. All Balak knew was that he can curse some, he had a reputation, pay the man his money, he'll curse it. Pay him, he'll bless it. So he sent his folk down. And he said, take this money, gave him a sack of money, take it to Balak and tell him to bring himself on down here because I need him to curse these people. Because once I can curse them, if I can tell them something about themselves, oh, wait till we get into this. Then I can go down and I can get rid of them. Because if I don't, they're going to take over our land. But more than that, they're going to want to live with us. And we're going to all have to live together. That's not what we want. So so Balak's henchmen, Balak's guys, actually they were princes of the city. They were the upper echelon of the politicians of the city. They went to the prophet Balaam. And they said, King of Moab wants you there because he wants you to curse these people. And he knows that you're good at it. And so Balaam says, I tell you what, you got the cash? He said, yeah, we got the cash. He said, well, hold on to it. Stay overnight. I'm going out, talk to my God. And then I'll be back. So Balaam goes out and finally hooks up with God, and God asks him this question and said, it's like God doesn't know everything. He knows everything. And God says to Balaam, said, who's them people staying with you in your house, man? And Balaam said, oh, these are from the king of Moab. They want me to curse these people. God says, what people? Them people down over there across the river over there by Moab, because Moab don't want them there. So I got to go down and curse them, So finally God says, you can't go curse them. And Balak says, why not? God said, because I'm not going to let you. You can't curse them because they're blessed. And so Balaam says, okay, well, let me go tell him. He goes back, tells the folk, hey, I'm not going with you guys because I've talked to my God. My God says they can't be cursed and he ain't going to do it. I can't do it. I told you I can only tell your king, I can only do what my God says. If my God says no, the answer is no. And he said no, therefore my answer is no. So, hey, I can't take the cash. I mean, you can leave a few coins on the table if you like, but I can't take the cash. Go on back. They went back to the king and told the king he can't do it. He won't curse them. And the king said, go get some more money. And they tripled the cash. And they came back with sacks over their shoulders. Went to Balaam, dropped the cash on the desk and said, the king says you got to curse him. And Balaam says, but hey, I told you what God said. How much money you got there? Show me them coins. I tell you what. I know the answer going to be the same, but just stay here tonight. Let me go check with it. And so Balaam says, Lord. And God said, well, who's there? Well, these are some different ones. They sent some congressmen before. These are the senators. And God knew they had money. Balaam said, hey, what you going to do? God said, all right, go with them, see what's going on. But you bet not curse them. You know what I mean by that? Yes, sir. Balaam goes back, goes with him. God actually gets upset with him for going because he didn't think Balaam was going to do it, but Balaam decided to go with him. Anyway, this whole thing is about blessing and cursing. Spells, ladies and gentlemen, are words. Just like you see in the movies. Instead of them saying, bubble, bubble, toil and trouble, and rhyming words to take someone's life, or rhyming words to make them disappear. It's about words that create life. Just like you have one thing on one side of the coin, you have the other thing on the other side of the coin. God says, I give to you life and death. Choose life. I give to you blessing and cursing. Choose blessing. Blessing and cursing are actually the flip side of the same coin. Blessing and cursing is the flip side of the same coin. And we have to choose words of blessing or words of cursing. Get what I'm saying? You say, well, that's not the way God works. Oh, yes, it is. How many of you have ever gotten up in the morning and said, this is going to be a horrible day? Like you were talking about, this is going to be a horrible episode in my life. Didn't feel good yesterday, ain't going to feel good today. He didn't love me yesterday, he ain't going to love me today. Oh, I struck out yesterday, I'm going to strike out again today. They won't give me a job. Why should I get up and try to go get a job? They won't give me the vote. Why should I get up and try to go vote when they don't want me to have no vote? They. Listen, let me tell you about they. They only become stronger when you and your I doesn't become stronger. For every one of their theys, you got to be an I am. It is your words that are powerful. When you don't know who you are, other people can tell you who you are. When you don't know truth, other people can tell you their truth and who you are and change who you are. Listen, I've been watching this whole thing, and this is what the king Balak of Moab was trying to do to the children of Israel. He wanted them cursed. In other words, he wanted them to believe less about themselves, because if they believe less about themselves, he could overcome them, because you don't fight as hard. You don't have to fight as hard when other people do not believe that there's somebody special. How many of you are saying, oh my God, I belong to God. I have the Spirit of God in me. How many of you are saying that right there and can say it with some conviction? How many of you are able to say, I am chosen of God? I have the presence of God, not only in me, but all around me. I am the blessed of God. That's how you get up in the morning. You get up in the morning saying, I'm blessed. Ooh, there's an ache in my back, but I'm blessed. Oh, my foot kind of hurts over here, but I'm blessed. Oh, putting on my pants. I didn't leave any cash in my pocket. Oh, but I'm blessed. Go to the checkbook. Oh, it's empty, but I'm blessed. This is where it starts. It starts with the words. It starts with the spirit of the thing. It starts with the power of the innermost being. It starts with the power of your mind, how you see it, how you think it, how you become aware, how enlightened you are, how illuminated you are. Because if you have it in you, then when the curse comes, you see, God doesn't have to protect you. He just has to say, leave their blessing alone. But if you don't know you're blessed, you can be cursed even though you're blessed. You're not really cursed, but the words are so powerful, they can make you think you are. Dr. Ed, how in the world can I overcome it? How can I make sure that people can't do that to me, or over my children, or over my home, over my family? Listen, I would love to tell you more, but this is to be continued. You got to join me next week when I go into the next phase of this thing. This story is going to be about talking donkeys. It's going to be about a crazy prophet who keeps trying to make a buck but can't seem to get around the thing. It's going to be about people who don't want other people to work with them and be next to them. How do you survive when the moment you integrate, people still want you to segregate? How do we move into a better place? How do we move into a better world? How do we move into a higher dimension? How can we bring our lives together, our families together, our country together? How can I feel better about what I'm doing and go into a better place? You got to be with me next week. This is to be continued. I'll be back next week. Hello, I'm Ed Montgomery, and I want to encourage you about one thing. Don't you let your season pass you by. I've been talking on these little bitty clips about flowers and opening and blooming, but it takes pollination. In other words, it takes somebody going from one flower to another flower, and that's somebody, little bees and things of that sort. But just like bees will go from one flower to another flower and cause pollination and cause those flowers to reproduce, I think we touch each other's lives the same way. When we smile at each other, we reproduce joy and happiness. Our world needs so much. This is what ALC does. And when you give, you make a huge difference in our world. Take the time, go to myalc.org. That's myalc.org. Hit the donate button. You can give that way. A second way to give is to be able to use your text to give on your phone. And you can send it to the number 713-742-2035. That's 713-742-2035. And put however much the amount you want to give right in that text message part. Safe and secure. Not only that, but you can use your app. Don't forget, if you're in the app right now, you can give through it right now. And then also, you can use your P.O. box. Just slip a check. People still do checks nowadays. Or you can give through your debit cards or credit cards if you got an envelope. But if you're just mailing it, put a stamp on that envelope and you can send it to Abundant Life Center, P.O. Box 772-300, Houston, Texas 77215. Thank you so much for everything you do, for your contributions. I really appreciate you. Thank you, ALC, Abundant Life Center, and for all of you, ALC globally. Thank you for being a part of our lives. I hope we can continue to be a part of your life. Love you. See ya.